One of the absolute worst parts about the tattoo industry is that virtually anybody can open their own studio, which means there's a ton of tattooers out there that are so gung-ho to open a studio that they jump the gun and they open it way too soon, well before they're actually tattooing properly or tattooing well at all. So I think that's exactly what happened with this next artist. Stick around, I'm gonna break it down. Hello, welcome to the show. This is HackHunter, where we review some of the best and worst tattoo artists in your cities. Now, this next artist we're going to feature was actually reported to us by multiple users, and you're going to see why in a minute. We just could not ignore it. So, without further ado, enter Tyler Roberts. You can find him working at Inked Tattoo Parlor there in Williamston, Michigan, and he's actually the owner out there, believe it or not. And if you want to check out their work, you can on Instagram, Inked Tattoo Parlor. They also have their own website, and to be honest, I usually try to figure out how long an artist has been tattooing by how old some of their photos are, how old are their oldest posts, and in this case, I couldn't find anything beyond 2019. So that tells me that he really has not been tattooing very long at all. I have no idea how long the studio's been open. It looks like it's only been open a couple years though. So always do your own research, guys, but let me show you what I found. Boom. Let's kick it off with this one, shall we? Because this is an advanced piece for any tattoo artist. To do something like this so close to the knuckles and right on the bend of the wrist, not to mention it's also supposed to be realism piece. So yeah, any artist would struggle with this, let alone an artist who has not perfected it. This is a difficult one to do, and you can see he absolutely missed the mark. All this shading around here, this irritated skin is super light gray. It is not going to hold up when the tattoo heals, so you're just going to get a lot of fuzzy, streaky gray here. It is not going to resemble lion's hair. It's just going to look like a fuzzy gray cloud around this guy's face. It's very strange to me how he chose to really go super light on the outside, but then really, really dark outline on the eyes. A really kind of strange choice there. But yeah, absolutely, this is what happens when an artist opens a studio way too early and they end up practicing on their clients. That's essentially what happens, and that's what an apprenticeship is for. That's what tattoo schools are for. It's so that you can get all that practicing and work done on people that know you're practicing, people that understand and are willing to take that chance. But when you're doing it to clients, this is kind of the outcome. Look how just choppy and blurry this shading is. There's no real light source on this piece at all, and the main thing I would say, this backdrop here, this is a big tell to me when we're reviewing artists. When an artist just does a really kind of choppy, scratchy backdrop, it lets me know that they're having a hard time creating smooth fades. They're having a hard time being patient and actually creating a nice soft fade there and taking the time that it requires to do so. And it obviously shows here that he did not have the application technique down to create that nice soft fade. Now here's another one I saw. I think part of this is healed, part of it's fresh. Either way, I zoom in and look at how much hair is all over this piece. Did not take the time to prep the skin properly. It is really, really simple to just clean, sanitize the skin, and then shave it cleanly. Shave a nice large patch around the area so that you're not going to come into any hair like this. And so when I see an artist that just leaves it there and tattoos over it anyway, it goes to show that they really don't have the dedication they should to be charging full price to their customers at all. Now here's one that I had to show because look at these itty bitty fingernails on these praying hands. I have seen some botched praying hands before, but man, this one takes the cake. I'm not a fan of these streaked lines you can see. He was doing it with his shader, and that's why you see all these individual lines. That is not intentional. You can tell that because none of these other shading parts have that. So he just shaded this in such a goofy way. And I think it was a cover up because you can kind of see some faint lines there coming through there, so there's something underneath this. But yeah, I don't think this soft gray is the best choice for doing cover-ups. You need something more contrasted. Again, that's something you would learn through the experience of an apprenticeship or for formal training. Not to mention, look at these weird knuckles. Who has straight bends in their knuckles like that? My knuckles don't look like that. I also do not like how he chose to use bold lines in some areas and thick outer edges, and then other areas just have kind of a scraggly edge, where you can tell he still used a bold liner, he just kind of scratched it in. And that is definitely not how you're meant to use those bold liners. Now here's one that really showed how rough and struggling he is with this color work. These blends are terrible, and the line work in here very inconsistent. You can see the missing gaps there, so he was not keeping his lines at the proper depth the whole way through. Again, I'm seeing hair, so very, very frustrating for me to see this when artists are so excited to open a studio and to just, live their dream of opening their own studio. That's great, but now you're just ruining your reputation by doing really piss poor tattoos and charging full price for them. Now, this is one of the last ones I'm going to show you. Again, a very disappointing layout and design to this whole thing. He used the same bold liner in all these flowers, even in the small detail, but then he had a small liner out because he used it on the scales here. So why would you not use that same thin liner in your flowers here? Now, another thing I got to point out to you guys, if you're looking for a tattoo artist, if I zoom in here, you can see these bold lines. You see how there's thin little streak lines in there? that shows me that his application technique is not there at all with these bold lines. You need to keep a 90-degree angle perpendicular to the skin with those so that all your needles are hitting to the same depth. And in this case, he is at a sharp angle and he's not going deep enough, and so you can see the individual needle straggles instead of one nice clean bold line. And again, that's just some rushing stuff. That's not being trained properly and not knowing what you're doing. Also, here's a weird error. I think this pedal is supposed to bend right here, be a bent pedal, and he accidentally drew this line all the way through that pedal, even though that pedal is supposed to be behind this one. So really kind of simple error there. This white that he tried to do in this albino snake, obviously it's very patchy. When I zoom in here, you can see chunks that it's just not there, and whole swatches of it where he just didn't want to do the white, and that's just sort of strange to me. He probably shouldn't have attempted to do white in such a large area anyway, but if you're gonna do it, commit to it. Don't just leave empty patches like that. So I'm seeing a lot of really kind of half-assed stuff, really kind of weird designs like this one. Look at the eyes on her. Oh my god, way too bold and way too big on those eyes. You can tell he had some trouble here with the earrings as well. They definitely don't look nice and round and smooth. And yeah, weird gaps in lines, just edges where they don't connect and where they don't follow through. Oh man, very disappointing to see this kind of lazy quick work. So I think Tyler Roberts is very obvious. He is going to end up on our hack list. And to anybody out there, if you're thinking about opening your studio and that is your goal in life, please take your time. Become a great artist first. Do not take it out on the clients. They should not be charging full price for you to practice on them and for you to learn as you go. So that's it. That's my spiel. Stick around for part number 2, though. We found an incredible artist out there in Michigan that we just had to showcase. So see you in part 2. All right, bye-bye.